Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ask the Sensei for April 6th to 2022. Um, I'm Tish Hicks. I'm the Master Sensei of the Dojo, usually in Burbank, but today coming from Maui, Hawaii. Um, we are joined by Dan Letter, the home studio master, as we are every month. And this month, we are really excited to welcome Scott Parkin, the one and only Scott Parkin, who's going to answer questions with us.
I turned your Twinkie lights on for y'all.
Oh, there we go. And the Twinkie lights. So there we go.
Normally reserved for my children, my kids' students, but I figure what the hell.
Yay, it's great to see everyone. So here's how this rolls. We'll do a quick introduction of Dan, quick introduction of Scott. Jeffrey's here to be our Dojo team member. So if you need anything, feel free to contact him in the chat.
Jeffrey, can I get a Kahlua coffee, please?
You got it.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you, buddy.
Sure one. Yeah, so we'll start taking your questions because this is our free Q&A call that we do every month. So you can start putting your questions in the chat and we'll talk a little bit. If you haven't had a chance to catch the Dojo 21 questions, that interview that I did with Scott prior to this, it's kind of like the BTS extended dance mix version of this. We talk about a bunch of other stuff, and Scott particularly. So
that's the first time I've ever been mentioned in the same sentence as BTS. I appreciate that.
There you go. Now it's an auspicious day. So, all right. Well, Dan, introduce yourself. Tell us what you are about.
Oh,
for those who don't know, you're renowned.
No, I'm Dan Leonard, the home studio master. My area of expertise, aside from voiceover, is your home voiceover studio, which is basically misunderstood by just about everybody. So I'm here to Dojo, teach you how to do that properly and record properly and not be intimidated by it. And I will answer any questions about that. I also need to mention that I'm also executive president and CEO of worldvoices.org, which is the industry association of freelance voice talent. And I'm always happy to talk to anybody about that because you need to join.
Yeah, if you're not a member, you should be. Yeah, so many acronyms, Dan. It's good.
Like a military narration.
Indeed. And Scott Parkin, introduce yourself, my friend. What are you up to these days? Who are you and what are you up to?
I am Scott Parkin. I'm a Pisces. I like long walks on the beach because I don't have a car. My name is Scott Parkin. I live in Venice Beach, California. I am a voiceover and on-camera actor, and I write for the TV when they allow me to do that. I started in radio when I was 21. I've been making a living at voiceover and commercials since around 22. so I'm currently, you can see me on television on a Tide commercial. I have another commercial coming out that rhymes with Mireless. I can't really, it's an NDA, so I can't really say, but it's about phones, and I'm in a family, and I play a dad, and there's several of those heading your way. You're going to be sick of seeing me, but I won't be because that's how I feed myself and shelter. I've been teaching both on camera and voiceover improvisation for around 10 years. I just got back from VO Atlanta, where I hadn't been in front of people for 3 years. So it was, for an extrovert, the pandemic isn't great. So this was like a starving man getting a steak. And it was just absolutely the best. I'm going to be in Switzerland in September with JMC for their Euro retreat, and I'll be at Mavo in, I think, November. Looking forward to that one. Never been to that one, but I'm gonna take a couple extra days with my daughter and hit the Smithsonian and some of the other Washington DC landmarks. So I'm an improv and commercial guy primarily, but I will do films and television whenever they allow me to.
Excellent. And it's awesome how you list your schedule like a stand-up. I'll be appearing here and here.
The only reason I know that is because people send me contracts all at the same time about 2 days ago. Otherwise, it's out the door, and I have to like look at I'm one of those people that sets a double reminder for every single event. 2 days before, 1 hour before is standard for me. I'm not terribly organized. I'm really good in front of a crowd. Math and organization are not my skills.
That's okay. Well, that's why we have others.
Whether it's okay or not, that's what the hell it is. So,
yay. Well, I want to put a pin in. Well, I don't actually want to put a pin in your daughter, but your daughter is doing some pretty cool stuff that you are part of as well. Is this a good time to mention, or shall we take some questions and then talk about it?
Well, I'd rather hear from the people. I've talked about the comic casino for several days now. But I do want to touch on it. But
yeah,
let's
we'll talk about it. It's really good. So yeah, let's see what questions are coming up, and what you guys have on your minds. This is your time. And
okay, I want to say thanks everybody for spending time. I know you all have stuff to do, and I always appreciate it when anyone chooses to take their time and hang out with me in person or virtually. So thank you very much for showing up.
And it's super fun to have you here, Scott, because you're one of your areas of expertise is improvisation, and one of the rules of voiceover that we explore at the dojo is playing fully. So both playing fully, like giving it your all, and also playfully. So it's a really good launching point to start talking with people. Jeffrey, what questions do we have?
I think this is a great question to kind of kick things off. Janet Saya, if you could unmute yourself, I'll pin you, and you had 2 kind of quick questions, so go right ahead and ask them.
Yeah.
Hi, Scott. Great to meet you, and excited to hear about improv. I have worked with Tish and playing and trying different areas, but I would love to hear of your experience with improv in voiceover auditions. And also, you just said you're not great at organization, so I was wondering, what system do you have for keeping track of your auditions, your clients, or all that?
I call it an iPhone. In this little device, it has a calendar. And so I write down everything on the calendar, and I set alarms for myself. I'm a union guy, have been for 25 years. So I have agents. I have a commercial agent, voiceover agent, all of them at DPN. My commercial on-camera agent is Jennifer York at DPN. My theatrical agent is Linda McAllister. So they let me know where the hell I have an on-camera audition literally right after this. So I have these lights, and I have to change into a dated, aging business, like a guy who's not really evolved in the workspace. I have to do that like literally 4 minutes after I get out of here. So right. I keep track of the stuff like that. That's and I don't, because I don't have massive amounts of non-union stuff happening. I don't have that much stuff that doesn't go. I don't have hardly anything except for public appearances and the odd industrial that is, sort of doesn't fall under a union contract. I don't have to worry about that so much. So, one of the things I preach in voiceover is know thyself. And I know that if I don't write the shit down, it goes away because I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah.
The first question was my experience in auditioning in improv.
Improv, yeah.
I mean, it's nearly daily. I'm just so you know. Does anyone know what improvisation is in voiceover? Raise your hand. Anybody? Pick somebody. Yeah, go ahead. What is improv in voiceover? Janet.
Yeah, I mean, they give you script and you have to play with it. You have to think of different ways to make the words pop, or like with Tish, we were working on thinking of it being
Shorter,
bubbles.
Janet, shorter. Just kidding. What is VO and improv? It is playing with it. It is making it your own. It is all of that. But from a very, very baseline point, it's anything that isn't written on the page. If it says, I've never thought about it like that before, and you go, huh, gosh, I've never thought about that before. Anything that isn't written on the page is improvised.
Okay.
In a 30-second script, you don't have the time to go, all right, give us a place where two people might meet. Great, COVID testing line, a relationship, parole office. Yeah, you don't have that kind of time.
Right.
When we talk about improv and voiceover, if they say, which they often do, make this your own. We paid a bunch of money for this and we still don't know what the fuck we want. Please write this for us. If they say that, you're going to add more. You have the right to add more. But for most scripts, improv and voiceover is like that.
Tiny.
The muscles are the same. The same muscles you use on stage in improv to develop a character are the same as making something real and making something sound real. The point is, here's the thing. We don't know, nobody knows, this is a long answer, but it's worth it. Nobody knows what the hell they're going to say. Dan, ask me what I like to do for fun.
So what do you like to do for fun, Scott?
A bit freaking personal, Dan. No, one of my very favorite things to do is surf. I live a mile from the beach. I'm old and slow. I have a longboard, but when you get on a wave, Los Angeles goes away. The rejection of voiceover goes away. You can, there's dolphins. You get out ahead of the wave and you can actually hear the board cutting through the water. It makes sort of and you run up to the front of it and it's great. I didn't have that written down. I didn't have, that's a little personal, Dan, written down, so all that stuff that I say, I'm composing, I'm writing, I'm performing and editing on the fly. We all are. It's how we fucking talk every day of our lives. So when they ask for a conversational read, or like a real person, they're not asking for that, because a real person reading copy who does not read out loud for a living is going to say Olive Garden is a great place. They have unlimited breadsticks, which are great. They don't mean that. It's really much easier to figure out what they don't mean. What they don't want is an announcer. Olive Garden has unlimited breadsticks on Thursdays. So in voiceover, if you add 3 or 4 words to a spot and a couple of sounds, if they have not asked for improvisation, that's about all you're going to do. When you're finding the character and figuring out who the hell you are, you're going to improvise a lot, but that's not going to be recorded. That is how you set your character. Who am I? Young mom, healthcare professional, person at a drive-through counter, whatever you are. When you build that character, you're going to improvise and figure out that character, and then you're going to start improvising. Let me ask you this, guys. If you improvise a line and then you write it down, is it still improv?
No.
That's a philosophical question.
It's absolutely improv. Judd Apatow hires the best improvisers he knows and puts them in a movie. So look at the movie Don't Look Up. About 30% of that movie was improvised.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
If you come up with it, Adam's film. If you come up with it and write it down, so to put it in your script, it still came from your brain. You still, you came up with it, you improvised it just because you write it down. So when you're improvising by yourself, you may write some stuff down. I know I do. So most of the times I'll try and, my brain sort of works like that. It works poorly in other areas, but I can usually pull bits and ideas and thoughts that I've improvised and repeat them like that. Yeah. I hope I answered your question. I think that was.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
At the dojo, we talk about your thoughts being ahead of your words when you're actually talking to somebody. You kind of go like, oh, where am I going? And your thoughts are ahead of your words. And when you're reading, your thoughts are behind your words. because it's not your words. So
I know that you know this, but that's a very known linguistic premise that's been around for about 40 years, because your eye is here, but your mouth can only go there. Right? So yeah.
Good. What other questions? I think we kind of got the Phyllis's was kind of caught with that.
Dan, do you have any questions?
Oh, well, yeah, I was going to comment, the fact that, you talk about writing on the script. For example, I had something the other day where I had to be a large animal veterinarian. And they were like, we want you to be really friendly and compassionate. Yet it was written by a tech writer. So it was all, there were no contractions. And it's like, when you're doing e-learning copy or stuff like that, you generally don't want to break the rules, and you got to write stuff. You have to do stuff the way they want, mostly for compliance purposes. So I did it pretty much that way, but still tried to do it as loose as I could. They came back and said, "You sound like you're patronizing." So
what you say when they say that? Say, "I don't understand. I haven't gone anywhere. I'm not patronizing."
Yeah, I think it was still a matter of the writer was trying to get something across, and I said, I did it twice, and finally somebody else took it. Nah, these were fine. So they didn't want to do a live session with it for some reason.
You send the person that said these were fine a nice bottle of wine, and don't talk to the other one.
Or a bottle of Sailor Jerry rum.
There you go. You read me like a short story, Dan.
Hey, what's the next question, Jeffrey?
Phyllis Fort had a couple of questions. Phyllis, go ahead and join us.
You already answered it. Actually, it was about.
Okay, let's move on then. I'm kidding, Phyllis. Go ahead, Phyllis. I'm teasing you. Go ahead.
Improvisation during, say, a movie audition, but you already answered that. So,
you mean, have I improvised for a film audition?
Yes.
Yes. I improvise. I improvise wherever they'll allow me to. So I just want you to know, improvisation doesn't mean funny. It doesn't mean funny. It just means you're pulling it out of your brain. Robert De Niro said to Leonardo DiCaprio, who's also a name dropper like Sting, I just love this story, and I collect these little things. And De Niro said, know the script backwards and forwards. This is film. This is different than voiceover, obviously. Know the script backwards and forwards so you can leave and improvise and come back and know right where the hell you were. And they gave an example of the scene. So yeah, I mean, if they tell me, hey, look, stick to the script, I'm like, thank you, that's fine. I always feel like if you get the money, you win. I'm not going to be like, no, I have a spoken word thing that I think is fucking fantastic, and I'm going to lay it in the front of this. I don't do that. If they don't want me to improvise, I won't. If I see a little leeway where I can add some sounds and words to make it sound more conversational, I'll do that. Usually on my second take. Sometimes after listening to both takes, I'll flip them. Like Mary Lynn just whipped that out in a panel I was on, and I was like, yeah, I do that too. So because sometimes your brain, when you do the first take as scripted, your whole approach is different. Right. And then the second take, you're like, I'm loose now. I can improvise and all that. So the whole thing sounds different, not just the part that you're adding. So sometimes I'll flip those two.
Yeah. And I think both are a skill set to be able to deliver an authentic conversational read exactly as written. Like Dan was saying, like you cannot
without question
out of the barn. And then also to be able to play and
without question, those are both skill sets, and they can both be improved and worked on. I still train with people, but yeah, making something real and conversational fits very well with improvisation, but it's not required. The hardest thing, a couple of the hardest things to do are to make stuff that is absolutely 9.9% of financing, not available in Tennessee, available this weekend. To make that shit sound conversational is the hardest thing. The other hardest thing is when they've underwritten a spot and they want it more energetic. This water slide is fantastic. You know, that's very difficult. So, but it can be done.
Yay.
If they're paying, you can do it. Go ahead, Phyllis.
I had a personal question. I knew a guy in theater in Arizona with a similar name, and I was wondering if that was you.
The only time I was in Arizona was the correctional facility where I played Hitler in a version of Sing, Sing, Sing. No, I don't know. That was not me.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't know I was going to say that.
That was good.
Thank you, Phyllis. I have a house. Look, this is my house. All comes from making shit up.
Do we have any tech questions, Jeffrey?
Yes, we do.
And
Andrew Hartman, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask your tech question.
Andrew?
Hey, howdy, hi. My curiosity is one that I see in so many different things, and it's at what point does somebody have the ability to honestly say, I have a professional quality studio? Because I see a lot of people saying like broadcast ready, professional, and I'm like, well, I don't know if that means exactly what you think it means, and I don't know what that means myself.
Good question.
Yeah, that's good because I have a way of usually answering this. Broadcast quality is an outdated term that refers to the analog age of audio. And the fact of the matter is most of the stuff we're recording doesn't get broadcast. A lot of it is for internet and for various other things. But when someone says broadcast quality as a general descriptive word for what they want, to me, that just means it doesn't sound bad. And anything that distracts from your voice, anything that prevents them from hearing you and distracts them from your performance is bad. And so what we want to do is make sure that all of those things that can cause the audio to sound bad to not be there. Background noise, undermodulation, poor mic technique, Peter Piper picked a peck, those sorts of things. And
if you're in Hawaii, I was doing auditions this morning. I'm like, oh, hold for rooster. Thank you.
That's a big problem. It's really a matter of knowing what it's supposed to sound like, which is an acronym, what it's supposed to sound like, whistle. And there's a way it's supposed to sound. And if you're trying to satisfy your own ears, you have to remember that you don't hire you. And there are people who are experts at listening to audio and knowing when you're adding too much to it, whether you're using too much processing. I think there's a lot of people that are way overused compression, which is why we see a lot of specs that say no announcers, because people are just totally jamming their audio down when they're talking too loud. Don't overproject, those sorts of things. The best way to know how is to, send me a sample, and I will tell you within 5 seconds whether it's professional quality or not. Well, maybe 10 seconds.
In my experience, it means they're going to play it on the air. They're not going to go through an intermediary. So it always meant that it has to be extremely high quality. As far as that, that's a generalization, but you need to run it by somebody who can make that call for you to say, hey, is this broadcast quality? And because it means they're going to put it on television or the radio is what I've always known it to mean. Right, Dan?
Sometimes, although I've seen it from people who are, for audiobooks and corporate narrations.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they use it as a general term and a very inaccurate term. If you're doing a commercial, I would expect it to be broadcast quality. But also, what is broadcast quality to an engineer? To an engineer, it's a blank slate that they can play with that doesn't have anything that they need to clean up. It's like seamless. Here, use this, add compression, add reverb, add anything that you need to put on it, but there's nothing else in there that you need to clean out of it. And that comes from a clean environment and proper technique.
really good distinction.
That's a lot to put on a t-shirt, Dan.
It's a big shirt.
No, he's lost weight. He looks good.
That's really interesting, Dan. So it's not only about what sound is being captured, but making sure that it doesn't have anything else to it. Is then the engineer can do what they want with it, or what needs to be done.
There used to be a term they used for hi-fi equipment, signal to noise ratio, which has to do with the noise that electronic equipment makes. I've usurped that, and to me, signal to noise ratio is what's signal? Your voice. What's noise? Anything that's not your voice.
Excellent. Excellent. Good. Cool. What other questions do we have, Jeffrey?
So let's see. There's a few questions about recommending improv VO classes in different regions. Angio, Diane Marquetta, Dallas, and New York.
Well,
what would you recommend, maybe to kind of like sum them up? Like, what would you recommend when looking for?
Yeah, I mean, as a thing, I don't know many people who are teaching it. I teach classes once in a while, but I would say take an improv class, because the skills that are required to figure out how to sound like a young mom, a concerned citizen, all of that, all the character-driven improv is how you pick your character. They are all characters, right? Everything you say in voiceover is going to be a character. If I get specs that say aging hippie who likes bikinis, pot, and the beach, great. I have never seen one of those in a spot. No one has ever asked for exactly who I am. So everything you play, even right now, you can get 5 of those for just $8 at Rubio's. I don't sound like that. I don't talk like that. Look, it's closer to my voice than in a time when people cared. It's, but it's still not me. So they're all characters. So learning to develop a character, what makes a good character, how to jump from character to character, those are all improv skills. How to think on your feet, how to listen. Probably the most important thing in improvisation is listening. So I would say look for local groups. Go watch, audit a class. Don't dive into a 6-week, $4,000 course before you've taken a look at what they're like. How do they work? Are there, is there a beginning level? Most of them, the groundlings and UCB out here are designed to go up to the main stage rather than, I just want to learn some basic skills and apply them to my own situation. But they are out there, and they're good. Go see improv groups. Go watch improv. Gary Anthony Williams was just out. He's in our pilot, Comic Casino. He was just out with Whose Live Is It Anyway, which takes the guys from Whose Line It Is Anyway and goes around the country. Go be a student of improv. Find it. Go look at it. There's so many different improv. There's a couple different shows on Netflix where 2 guys do long form improv for 45 minutes. And it's brilliant. I can't think of the name right now. My daughter hit me to it. Yeah. But there's so much improv to be consumed, improvisation, and you can learn a lot from watching how people do it. And, again, commitment, that's what you guys are calling full play. All in commitment is the gold standard of any improv. Adam McKay said, how do you, like when he was talking about Don't Look Up, he's, started at SNL or started at the, I think the Groundlings and then SNL doing shorts. And then he did The Ballad of Ricky Bobby and Anchorman and all that. And if you think about those characters, they're very broad, but they're all real. They're all honest. They play it real, play it straight. Meryl Streep in Don't Look Up was supposed to be on the phone during when they entered to have the consultation. They did 25 takes, and each time she was on the phone, she had another conversation, and they're all just freaking hilarious, just batshit crazy conversations that particular character would have. He says, when I work with people that don't normally do improv, I say, no matter what it is, make it real, make it honest. No matter how outlandish, if you think of those characters, they're broad in Anchorman. That got out of hand rather quickly. I mean, these are big big, broad characters, but they're played straight. You look at Jason Bateman in Arrested Development. He's one of the greatest comedies ever. He delivers every line absolutely straight. There's never a tip of the hat, tip of the, like a wink, a nod. He is absolutely straight. So when you learn how to improvise with an improv group, you learn that if you stay in character, you're going to be fine. Whatever that is. It's when we bail and try and tell a joke and try and be funny, right?
Yeah, I think the other thing about improv, I always say that the ethic of voiceover is the ethic of improv, because we train and do all the work so we can stand up in front of the mic and do anything instantaneously and create whatever is happening in the moment, which I think is the real skill set of being like right there in the moment. That is how you get conversational.
Well, I think in the moment is the only place to be in any type of acting, wherever you're doing it. Yeah. I mean, it sounds very try. Let's stay in the moment, you guys. But the second you think about, oh my God, I've spent this money that I haven't even made, the second you go anywhere else, you're not giving your most competitive read, whether it's absolutely 100% scripted or it's a blank page with an opening line and a closing line. When I train, I have a lot of templates where you get an elevator, there's 2 lines, actors improvise for 20 seconds and then an exit. And people freak out with that white page. But if you're in the moment, you can put forth the best. You have to put forth your best take. That's all we're looking for, is our best, most competitive take for you. Everyone else can fuck off. It's just, you have to do the best that you do. And if you don't, you can't compete for the work. Right. So, there's so many hundreds of people that are auditioning with us, against us. We have to set ourselves apart. And the only way you can set yourself apart is being absolutely 100% focused and in the moment. That's difficult. That's difficult. It's difficult. Yeah. So when you choose that character, you lock into that character. If you're on stage in improv and you start the scene with a limp, unless Jesus comes out and heals you during the scene, which can happen, unless he does that or she does that, it doesn't matter. You're going to end the scene with a limp. So when you listen back to your take, and if your words were, helpful and grounded, did I sound that way all the way through? You really have to, because when we're by ourselves, we're the engineer, the director, and the actor. So make sure you're not wearing 2 hats at the same time.
Exactly.
Don't be an asshole to your talent.
Right. And we've got we do a collaboration with Aretha Sills, who is Viola Spolin's granddaughter. We've got some improv stuff coming up in May, working with Aretha. So that's we're exploring. Those are sort of foundational concepts of
Viola Spolin was the founder of the long form. She and Del Close. So yeah. Cool.
Excellent. Oh my gosh, so many trails we go down with one question. Jeffrey, what other questions are there?
I want to do
it's improvised.
And there we go. And there it is. I want to do a quick shout out to Galen Murphy Hoffman. Is it that Netflix long form show? Is that Middleditch and Schwartz?
It is exactly who it is. It is exactly who it is. And Schwartz is my daughter just went to the premiere of Hedgehog, and he's in that. And Middleditch is the guy from Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Then we have James Moore, who has one for Scott and one for Dan. So James, go ahead and hop on in.
Here's a story.
Okay, sorry about that. I have my camera off. I'm kind of hiding out.
We don't need to know that, James. Just go.
Okay. So,
plausible.
Tech question. The tech question was, should we avoid EQ just in general when we're sending in takes, or is it helpful to find somebody to kind of just help pick settings and leave it alone?
EQ is one of those things that, having the ability to use it doesn't mean you should. It's sort of like podcasting. Just because everybody can podcast doesn't mean everybody should. Now it's a matter of you've got to know what it's got to sound like. EQ is not something that is going to change the way you read the copy. It's something that is going to make a minor adjustment to your audio that it's going to take you 10 years to understand. And therefore, it's not something that you should be doing unless somebody says, do it this and do that. And EQ is one of those things that you can use seamlessly to remove a low frequency rumble that is below the frequency of your voice, but you don't want to start doing things to start affecting your actual voice. So having a stuff isn't the same as knowing how to use it, I think is the best way to describe that. Everybody says, oh, you got to get RX7. Oh, you got to get this program. Got to get this program. You have to have an Apollo Twin. You can have all those plugins and stuff. Don't. It's one of those things that, again, having the stuff is not what makes the audio sound good. It's knowing how to use it. And if you're not an engineer, don't do it. Just make sure your audio is as clean as possible based on the physical things that I always talk about. The environment, the acoustics, proper mic technique, and setting proper required to do. And if you can get those things right, it saves you so much time on the back end.
Dan, do you know that there's an elephant in the Amazon forest? They're separated by large swaths of land, and it's very thick. They have a low frequency. Just stay with me. I promise it'll be better if you just wait. It has a low frequency that we can't hear. I'd always heard that there's high frequencies, when the dog does that, but it's at such a low frequency, so it travels miles and they can communicate with each other via a low frequency. Does that flip you out like it flips me out?
Yeah, I actually remember learning that in physics class.
Oh, I'm sorry. I love your response, but I wanted to hear with Dan. Have you ever? It was in a National Geographic, and it flipped me out that there's a low frequency that we cannot even pick up that can travel for miles.
Yeah, no, we're as humans on Earth, we can only perceive a limited spectrum of certain things, but other life forms, of course, can receive that kind of stuff. But I still don't get the elephant in the Amazon thing.
What do you mean?
There are no elephants in the Amazon.
There are. Well, it's either Amazon adjacent. They're a very small elephant. It's been 10 years. I love that you've picked one thing about it, and then you're gonna. I don't know. There's no elephants in the Amazon. There is an elephant that communicates via a low frequency that humans can't hear. Is that okay? Is that better?
Well, maybe there are elephants. We just can't.
There's no maybe. There are elephants that communicate via a low frequency that humans can't hear. Dan.
That is true. I've seen the same documentary. So
well, there you go. Okay.
It's not that I didn't believe you. It's just that
I'm going to begin picking apart your fucking answers right about now, Dan.
All right. Break it up, gentlemen. James, did you have another question?
Is it about elephants?
Is it about elephants?
No, it's not about elephants.
Make some shit up. No.
Yeah. I was actually going to ask, you were talking earlier about kind of setting your character. How long would you say that you spend on setting a character when you're auditioning? And are there kind of warm-ups or exercises or practices to help you set and get into character?
Absolutely. I don't spend a hell of a lot of time, James, because I've been doing it a while. It doesn't take that long, but I do an exercise called 2 things or 3 things in my classes. 2 things that an angry person might do or say. James, give me 2 things that an angry person might do or say.
Flip somebody off or throw a chair.
Those are both physical that you can't really communicate into a microphone unless you're going to cheer them. But they might furrow their brow. You might cross your arms. You might clench all of those things. Think about, because in improvisation, you have to do that lightning quick on stage. With time and building a character. Okay, this guy is, like Dan and I know, people like white guys of our age in television commercials are portrayed as, I don't know how much to eat. My stomach hurts. Girls are pretty. Beer is good. You know, that's the way we are. So you have to, if you think about like, you know, a lot of times I teach archetypes in commercials. And if I'm the guy, I don't know how to build stuff. I'm here at Home Depot. You notice how my head tilts and my eyebrows sort of go like that. I mean, I'm a big believer in physicality, because in voiceover, we don't get lighting, we don't get costumes, we get just our voice. So physicality is very important. So I think of, all right, if I'm supposed to be handsome or cool, I might stand like that. I might go, hey, how are you guys? Great. Listen, here's how this works. This is horrible. You know, I might go into it like that. If I'm a small and frightened person, I might, whichever you guys think is good. I'm new to a con. You know, you just, you start doing your 3 things, you start adding physicality, and then of course, you look at the specs and ask what look at what they're asking for, and you merge all of those processes and come up with processes. Dan, is it processes?
Close enough.
Thank you.
If you're an elephant.
I just want to make sure.
Amazon. Yeah.
and we're back to elephants. See how fast that happened?
Yeah.
This is all trunk material.
The concept that a vocality follows physicality is really a way to just bring things to life instantly.
Yeah.
Because you do it and then you don't have to think about it. It just happens, right?
That's from that. Dan and I are old enough to remember radio dramas. So that's what they did. They were acting out on stage radio, because all of the people from vaudeville went into this new thing called radio, this newfangled thing called radio. All the ships. Yeah,
it's called podcast.
That's right. That's
right. Podcast, but it's podcast is like radio drama. It's
there's
one version of podcast is.
There's so many types of podcasts, but yeah, the scripted podcasts are what radio dramas used to be.
Yeah, it's super fun with a different name. Yeah, well, let's take some more questions, guys.
But I also really agree and appreciate what Dan said. Just because you can do a podcast does not mean you should do a podcast. There are like anything else, there are very good podcasts. He's a part of a very good podcast, and there are very bad ones. Buyer beware.
Be good. That's the moral of the story. What other questions do we have, Jeffrey?
All right, Terry Briscoe had another double whammy. So, Terry, go ahead and come on in.
2 questions for 1.
Hello, everyone. Scott, I wanted to know that being so into improv, do you still take the time to do the script analysis as much as like a person who's not so much?
Absolutely, always. It's one of the things I teach. I write copy for big agencies as a freelance guy. So I know it from that side as well. And I think you're leaving money on the table if you don't look at the script and look at the specs. Very often in the specs, you'll see arguments, and I can spot the arguments like he can spot a 10kc hum. Mm-hmm. You spot that, you see very conversational, very real, and then you see nothing but price points. You're like, oh, okay. The ad agency understands that if you just yell the address and the price, no one's going to fucking listen. And the agency wants it to be more creative, so people listen, so they also hear the price points. So absolutely, script analysis is job 1.
Gotcha. And the second question was for Dan. I've been wanting to send you a specimen, but I wasn't sure whether or not you wanted any type of processing at all. I know you just want raw. I know you want the room noise and you just want it raw. Is that correct?
I want to hear what your studio sounds like. And again, like I said, if you don't know how to use this stuff, don't try to use it. Or it's one of those things. I need to hear the physical attributes of the room and how you use your microphone and how loud you're talking. And those are the things that I will say, okay, you need to adjust this, you need to adjust that. So any processing, to me, I've been saying this for years, is that it's intellectually dishonest, because it's not how you sound. The idea is not to make you sound great. The idea is to make you sound like you as you exist in the environment in which you're recording. And that's, they're not asking you for anything else. If the script says you're in the Hall of Mirrors of Versailles,
they're going to add that.
They're going to add that. Exactly.
Terry, that's like saying, should I look like my headshot?
But it's good. It's funny. It's funny. But doing anything else is like photoshopping, right? Is like
You
doing
want a baseline.
yeah, we talk a lot about like if coming in with just no makeup on, right? Because the engineer is the makeup artist for the sound. So if you come in with globs of makeup on, then there's nothing that can be done, right?
Jerry, we can hit this from 6 different metaphors. Do you get that?
I see that.
It's like if you're trying to steal second base and you tell the guy I'm stealing, your performance is going to be different. Baseball, I don't know, comic book.
Yeah, there's something about what you were talking about earlier. Now I've forgotten.
Is it loose cannons?
No, it's elephants. It's elephants. Yeah.
Definitely elephants.
Yeah. Okay, good story, Tish.
Thank
Excellent.
you,
guys. Good. What other questions do we have?
Okay, so
Oh, and now I remembered. Hold on a second.
go for it.
You were talking about being able, the script analysis and being able to tune in. And as a copywriter, I think there's something about tuning into the intention, the tone of the copywriter is part of our job too. To like, if you're in an Adam McKay movie, that's a thing. If you're in this, if you like, how do you tune into the intention of the copywriter is kind of like having an improv partner in some ways.
Well, I don't know if I agree with that because you don't know. With an improv partner, I can look in their eyes and
right.
With a writer, you get some clues, you know what I mean, Tish? You get some cues from the language. You got to take what you can get. The other thing is copywriters in our business are often 23 years old and they start at the bottom of the thing. And so, you get a paragraph and a half for the script that says by minute, you know what I mean? And they can over explain and overuse. In that case, I always just look for a few words that I recognize and I hold on to those. It becomes, I don't know, it's very difficult. It's very idiosyncratic. It has to do with the script and the writer. If you know them, great. But if you don't, your highly educated guess might be more risk to reward as opposed to staying in like, well, this is what I know. I know what grounded means. I know what empathetic means to me. And I know what real is. So I'm going to hang on to that because it's paralysis by overanalysis. But what we want is to find the intent. But in that thing, there's such a fight between client and agency about what gets in the thing. It's really idiosyncratic. Right. An agency like GSD&M who does Chipotle and Coors Light and Southwest Airlines, they're known for good, honest stuff and good comic stuff. So you kind of know when you get a Chipotle script what they're after. This is a good idea. You can listen if it's the same agent. If it's one tiny commercial, I wouldn't bother. I just do your instincts and use your education. But if it's a 5-spot campaign, go look. Who's the agency of record? What type of stuff do they do? What do the current spots sound like? Is it the same agency? If it's a different agency, they don't want you to sound like the last one because just like an administration, they fire all the people that were here before because if those people do something good, you're like, why the hell did we hire you? So if it's a bigger account, do a little research. If not, I would say look for those clue words that work for you and look at the spot, see how it's written. And that's the thing. All we can do is make our educated guess.
Yeah.
And stand out by adding words and sounds and improvising and doing due diligence and committing to character. This is how we stand out.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's do a couple more questions. We got a few more minutes, and then Scott's got an audition.
Nick Cancellieri, go ahead and pop on in and ask your question. This is a cool one.
Sorry, I didn't get my camera to work.
It's okay. We can hear you.
Voiceover, it's okay.
Okay. So while I get my camera to work, hi Scott, thanks for being here. Um, there we go. Um, Thank you for being here. I was curious as to your what the process was like to get your animated pilot off the ground from basically like concept to animatic. I am I mean I know it's a long I know
It's
it's kind of a process, but but I'm interested both as like a voice actor interested in animation and as someone who also writes original series.
okay.
I was
Um,
just curious.
I'm a writer, and I write for television when they let me. And I know a lot of writers. I want to try and make this as short as possible. Miranda was raised in the lobby of ICM and DPN and on the CBS Radford lot. So she knows has been around all voiceover and comedy her whole life. So she started talking to me about this pilot, Comic Casino, we came up with the casino idea and sort of a Arrested Development meets Blade Runner. So we began working on that idea, and she began starting to design characters. Then I brought some veteran TV writers, Ed Yeager from Roseanne and Last Man Standing, and Darman Gregg and Bill Daly from Eight Simple Rules and Mike and Molly, and Swampy Marsh from Surfer Jack Studios is a good friend. And we began formulating the script. Got the script done. The plan was to hire Surfer Jack Studios, Phineas and Ferb, Pete the Cat, and have Miranda be on Bernie's shoulder so she could learn how to make an animatic. And then Swampy threw a wrench into the thing and hired her full-time 3 months ago. So she's working on the animatic now. An animatic costs a lot less than, I posted a thing on my Facebook page. This is where Swampy talks about the animatic. The animatic is the table read, basically. In 4Camera, you sell the script and they go, okay, let's put these people that we have under contract in this, and let's shoot a pilot. In animation, an animatic is a rudimentary short film of how the art will look, how the people talk, how the characters move and look, and it's much less expensive. For an 11-minute pilot, it'd be about $12,000 to do an animatic, which is why we have a merch store, and it'd be about $140,000 to do a full animation. So you make all your changes. Oh, that joke lands, that character works, this visual gag works. That all happens in the animatic process. So after that, we're going to take it out to Netflix, and we have some meetings set up, and we're hopeful to set up as many as possible. We're tiny. We are not a big studio. We're going at it bass backwards. All the people in it: Lorraine Newman, Mindy Sterling, Tara Strong, Maurice LaMarche, Billy West, Steve Bradley Baker, Gary Anthony Williams, Gray Griffin. They're all people that have known Miranda since she was about 3. So she designed the characters for all those people, and they all said, yes, we'd be honored. I'd love to do this. And so it's the A-list of A-list. So you don't do that. You don't tell the studio, these are the people we've hired and this is how it looks. Normally you sell the animatic and they go, great, we want it to look like this and we want to put these people in it. So we don't want to do that. I mean, if they hand us a truck of money and say, you step away, I'm not going to say, Miranda, I'm not going to take this $2 million. We're going to do that. But we really want to sell it as it is, sort of plug and play, which hopefully there's a streaming service that's like, we don't really produce animation. You've got this thing dialed. So that's kind of what we're hoping for. It's a weird way to go. We already have a theme song with the harmonica player from Canned Heat. That's all Swampy Marsh's. Pete the Cat is Elvis Costello and Diana Krall and Swampy designing all the music. So he said, what do you want to do for a theme? And then all of a sudden the guitar player from Modest Mouse and the harp player from Canned Heat, and Miranda and they are writing a song. So we have a theme song. It's cast. We have merchandise. We have way more stuff than you normally have. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? The premise was to get her a nice resume to get into a large studio. and she has a full-time animation job already 3 months ago. So we already done what we wanted to do, but it's a great script. It's really funny. The people, Billy West, and I mean, it's we got to direct our heroes, and we're in it together. It's a father-daughter story. Arrested Development meets Blade Runner with a little bit of Sopranos thrown in there. Blade Runner was LA 100 years in the future. This is mid-century modern Vegas, 150 years in the future on a loop around a shitty moon at the edge of the galaxy. So it's a damn good story, and I hope it goes. We're having a big thank you party on Saturday. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? So in order, you got to get a really good story. You got to have a place that wants to do the animatic, and you got to have really good voice talent that can land all the stuff that you're writing. That's a short answer. I know Dan's
and also
that's a lot for a t-shirt, Scott. I know what's coming. But yeah, a good story, great people, and great art.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Your daughter is just preternaturally incredibly talented. She's breathtaking talented. And then the other thing that I hear inherent in that, Scott, is like one of the most important things is know good people who are doing good things. And it's the relationships, right? Miranda grew up because you have relationships, because we're in creative collaboration and getting to know each other and support each other. And
it's true. I've worked for free. I've worked for free very often. You know what I mean? I work for my friends. I do films. I do table reads. I do all that stuff. So jump at that stuff, unless it's just hideous, which I've done. So I guess you can't really see it. So just do it. Jump in no matter what. It's always good practice. Even if it's a horrible script, it's good practice. Because there are actors and people that that you're like, that's a horrible movie, but she was amazing in that movie. You know what I mean? It's even harder to be amazing in a horrible script. So rely on your friends, support your friends, get a great story. I mean, a good story. People are like, what about this for a backdrop of a story? And my buddy Ed, who's been a TV writer for 30 years, is like, I don't care about the backdrop. What's the story? What's the story? Doesn't matter how great the art is. Doesn't matter, all the whistles and bells. You can even look at, what was it? Titan AE? I don't know. They spent $80 million on John Travolta and Ben Affleck, and the movie was crap. It was just the story. If the story isn't there, it's not going to work. So start with your story, man. Start with your story, compelling story that moves you. Write what you know. This is a father-daughter thing. So in our story, the dad, the daughter wanted to get the hell out of there, like we all do, went and became a great defense lawyer, and then came back because she thinks her dad's dead, and he's sort of a mob guy and a wheeler and dealer, and was able to get his essence put into an AI, a Leah, a life-extending thing that are there for, good people like popes and people like that. So now she's got to defend him, and she doesn't really like him because he's not a great guy, just to defend him to save the found family that all works at the casino. So it's a father, in the heart of it's a father-daughter story, because we know that story. And the first thing that happened in the draft was the mom was killed, and we moved it from this. It was much harder, because we don't know that story as well as we know the father-daughter element. So write what you know. That's a very old advice.
Oh, yeah, no.
It goes back to the. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Sorry, I was going to say thank you. That was great. No, I love that piece of advice. I call it like the face story for the plot and the soul story for the heart underneath.
Yeah. Gotta have both.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Look at Rick and Morty, that started as rudimentary animation as a takeoff on Back to the Future. So that's where that started. And also this is the scary part for me, is that it took Swampy Marsh 9 years to get him to make Phineas and Ferb.
Right. Yeah.
Up going 9 seasons, making millions of dollars, and has Emmys, but 9 years. We're not going to do Common Casino we're not going to try Common Casino for 9 years. We're going to try for the next year and a half.
Well, guys, we're at the top of the hour. Thank you all. Dan, how do people keep in touch with you?
They can go to my website, homevoiceoverstudio.com, where you'll get my specimen collection cup for depositing your MP3 samples. We're rearranging the page. It's going to be at the top of the page. Otherwise, right now you got to scroll to the bottom of the page, and of course, watch Voiceover Body Shop, which is on all the time, fresh content every week at vobs.tv or on Facebook.
Also, you can go to his house. It's over there. It's a 754.
And Scott, how do people keep in touch with you? And
just ring a bell
for everybody.
You can catch me at Scott Parkin Actor on Instagram, and you can message me anytime if you want to. I'm super busy with a couple different projects, but I am coaching a little bit. Everybody here would get the family rate. You can hit me up on Instagram for details of what that is and how that might happen. Also, Facebook, America's Commercial Actor, and Scott Parkin, Venice, California. I think that's it. You cgravy@me.com is my email. I think y'all might have that. I don't know if you could put that up, but I'm really easy to find. So I'm big, loud, and I'm pretty. I'm usually talking. So.
Cool. And is the party open for everybody or invited?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well,
you're gonna have to know a Comic Casino character name to get in.
Oh gosh.
So, I'll post it. I'll send a cast list. Here. Take it. Wait, take us. I could get you to take us. Okay. You might be able to take a screenshot.
If you're in LA, and have any inkling of doing anything in animation, you wanna be there. Ooh, can we see it?
You see it?
Kind of little.
Not even close.
Kind of little. Can you forward it to us, and Jeffrey?
I will. Yeah. You can send it out.
That'd be great.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And in terms of the dojo, we have stuff. We have this happening the first Wednesday of every month. We on the third Wednesday of every month we have Get to Know VO. This month is our Demo Listen Derby with our demo producers, Brittany Cox and Ryan Ricks. So send in your demos and we'll run them through a gauntlet, and you can see how they stand up. And if you haven't done your demo yet, you can see what it takes to have a great demo. You should do voiceovers coming up in May. If you're working pro, talk to us about Nth Degree, our working pro workouts and focus action forms, and Fight Club. Fight Club's coming up. We just had Andrew Atkins, my manager from ACM, is coming in to pinch hit for Kritia Bajos because she got cast in something. So, but that's coming up this month. Ned Lott is sold out, but for players, but everyone can spectate. So that is working pro. If you want to get to know people on both sides of the glass, the good people doing the good things.
You want to take a nice picture?
Oh yes, you're so smart. You're so pretty. You're so smart. Yeah.
Branding, baby, branding.
Everyone, turn on their thing, their pictures. And what's the catchphrase? It's elephant.
Elephant.
Okay, here we go. We've got page 1 and page 2. Here we go. Yeah. All right. Good thinking, Mr. Lincoln. That's great. We I know, Scott, you've got a dash, but we also take a couple of minutes. If you want to hang out, we can break out into breakout rooms if you want to talk to each other about everything we covered here. If you got a roll, we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, you guys. I truly appreciate the attention. Dan, nice to see you, my friend. I hope to see you in person soon.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, thanks, Tish. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Scott. Take care. And Dan, if you have a couple minutes, you can hang out.
I got to roll. I'm late for something.
All right, sweetie. Thanks. Take care. See you soon. We'll see who's left and hang out a little bit. That was great. That was terrific.
I'm so glad that there's a mute button because I would have been dominating all the volume with my hysterical laughter.
Oh, yay. Well, it's so great to see new people and returning people. Super good. Galen's good to see you. And Kevin, we just met at virtually at voiceover Atlanta. So it's good to see you. Yeah.
It was great seeing you. My camera broke, so I couldn't do the photo.
Oh, no worries, no worries. You've got a cool stand in there. So yeah, yeah. Well, good. Well, what was what other were there any questions that didn't get answered, or what were your thoughts about what just happened? Hi, Kat. How are ya? This is Sensei Catherine. Sensei Catherine.
Hello. I was telling Jeffrey I already had 3 sessions this morning, so I wanted to just come and pop in 3 international sessions. So I wanted to pop in and say hi at the end.
Hey, excellent.
How did they go?
Oh, everything went great. I had one that I had to say a bunch of Turkish words, this cool documentary about some famous Turkish guy I'd never heard of. And I had to learn how to pronounce his name and place names and towers and stuff in Turkey. So that was fun.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
3 sessions in one morning. My gosh.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Well, I'm going to run because I'm meeting with my Rio branding first conversation.
Oh, fantastic.
Yay. Yes.
Oh,
With Ryan and Brittany. So I'll see you guys. Thank you.
excellent. Have fun.
Joy.
Say hi.
Bye. Bye. Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, Pamela.
Hey. Hello.
I didn't want to chime in with the last one because it wasn't specific to Scott or Dan, so to speak. But I've noticed there seems to be a bit of a shift. I was originally trained to remove breaths in auditions, and people are starting to realize that doesn't sound as natural. So I'm curious what the take is now as to whether it's more often left in or not. Usually I just soften them instead, especially if it's conversational, but I think it kind of depends on what genre it is or what kind of copy it is. But I thought I'd ask.
I mean, I think it's not about like, I mean, if there's obviously like if you have
Right.
like emphysema or something, then take them out, right? But I think breath is inherent in the flow of the conversation, right? So if you do
Yeah.
something that changes that flow of the conversation, then that might be noticeable or not to be like then don't do that, right? But I also think that how things get put together, right? Like I think when things get produced, right, an engineer will just like, let's take that out and boom, we fit it in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's mostly about making sure the flow of it is maintained, that it doesn't sound like you have been
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, no, I was referring if either or are still sounding somewhat smooth, but it's just you've got more of a natural tone when you can hear. Like for instance, if somebody it's more of an emotional piece, you're just like sometimes you need to hear that, with the copy, like with the actual script. It's almost like a part of the lines,
But
So
I think
I might just like slightly reduce the volume of it just so it's not as apparent, but that would be it.
well, yeah, I mean, but that's the feel and the flavor of that piece, right?
Right.
So if you're making an Italian dish, then that's then you'd put in, do you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the
So it's kind of it's like what I was expecting in a sense of do it based on what type of copy it is, genre it is, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And and then just in general, well, I guess I can't say that because you asked a very specific question. So yeah, I was just going to say in general, if you're asking a question, try it and then see what, say yes and try it and see what happens and then make a choice. That's a really good framework to go. Do you have any thoughts, Scott, or anyone else have practices that they
Yeah, I think you prefaced it with Pamela, like now we don't do that anymore or something. And I think what it really is that we used to go into a studio and just say the words and not edit ourselves. And that sound engineer would pretty much just send it as is. If you flubbed or something and you had to restart, they would cut out the flub. But other than that, the breaths were all in there. So yeah, I completely think it it prevents it from being really natural and conversational and believable, and B, it's a waste of time. So just don't do it unless it's like a glaring breath that shouldn't be there. And if you are taking, I correct people on this all the time. If you're starting your read or in the middle of your read going like gulping air, ask any singer, ask any theater performer, there's no
breath
need.
control then. Yeah.
We don't do that when I'm talking to you now and I'm not gulping for air. So just just relax and just breathe normally.
Yeah, no, it was a course I took at the when I first started with VO, and they said, no, here you would remove your breaths and blah, blah, this is how we do it, and blah, blah. So maybe they were just misinstructed on it.
Was it audiobooks?
It was on VO in general.
Oh, okay. Because I don't do audiobooks, and I've heard that audiobooks is one place where, because it can just get distracting for the reader for hours of that breathing in there, and they want to just hear the story. One of the many reasons I don't do audiobooks. It's a lot of work.
I think it was more emphasis on things like commercials, because you're not looking for the breath, the natural sound quite as much as you would be in a conversation, But
yeah, a lot of it's just our own opinions.
Just their flavor. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, do it your own way.
Yeah.
See what works for you. See what books.
Thanks.
I just as kind of a thought, it sounds like you've had extensive training specifically so you don't make a lot of breath, and I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think it's one of those where if you can train to perform at a certain level, then you can kind of relax and it's going to sound so much better, and you won't have to effort as much as opposed to somebody who needs to hit that polish mark. Like, it's easier to train at a pro level and then, kind of relax a little bit into it. So I think that that's good that you had that training.
Okay, cool.
What else? Who's here? Munji, I don't think I've seen you before. Where are you? Oh, we can't hear you though.
Had to unmute both my mic and the Zoom. I apologize. Yeah, I guess I don't know if I've ever been able to make it to one of these before. I've always been trying for a while. I've been on the newsletter and things.
Yay, cool.
I'm good. Actually, to speak to that too, I'm in the middle of doing an audiobook right now myself. And what I've found is that I tend to leave in the breaths that are like mid-sentence, or like she was saying, the ones that make sense, where you need to make an emotional beat somewhere with a breath. But I'll find that especially with a lot of audiobooks, what you run into is a lot of run-on sentences. After those, is it okay? After those, that's typically where I find like I need to go, oh, okay. Those breaths I will cut out, because those are just, nobody wants to hear that. So anywhere where it makes it sound natural, I tend to leave it in. And not that I've been told yes or no, but I haven't gotten dinged for it yet. So I find that it's not a problem, I guess, would be the answer to that. For me, anyways.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate the feedback from all of you.
Yeah. Who else is here? Tatiana, I don't know if we've met you. Thomas. Trisha, I feel like you've been here before, but I'm not sure. But now she's disappeared. So yeah. How things going with you, Galen? What's going on?
Hey,
how's it going?
you're in Maui. That's awesome.
I am, yeah. It's good.
Things are going well for me. Yeah, I'm in New York and auditioning and just, hanging in there. Yeah.
Excellent. Good. It's always good to see you. Galen,
Yeah, good to see
you should do voiceover class, so you know him. Yeah, cool. Well, what else? I feel like everyone talk amongst yourselves. What else is on people's minds? I gotta roll in a second, but
okay. Well, I guess I do have a question then. Hey, it's Danny.
Hey, Danny.
Hi. Don't mind the this is I'm in between shows. So, So I'm currently not doing any processing on anything for my in auditions.
Mhm.
Is there something I should be doing? Or I'm going to send my sample in to Dan for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah,
But
I mean, there's different schools of thought. The one that we usually roll with is the philosophy that was coming out in the questions of how do you get your raw sound as clean as possible. So
Right.
right, because here you are, if you walked in and this is what you were wearing, right? Like, well, she's got blue hair and her eyes are made up. Like,
Yes.
okay, well, what can we do with that, right? As opposed to if you came in with no makeup. So ideally, our job is to say the words, and the engineer's job is to do things. Now, I think where things may become, you need to ask the next questions, as Scott was saying, that we wear different hats, right? Some jobs require that we are the engineer and we are the person that's mastering things, in which case there may be something then that you would want to do, or have a process that that you would want something there. But even then, you want to keep it as simple as clear as possible.
Okay, good.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Kat? I know you do a lot more work that you might need to deliver in different ways.
I missed the question.
Oh, just process, like any processing, how
I don't know how to EQ anything. I plugged in, I have, my Scarlett, everything's there.
You're just sending raw.
You're
You're
just
talking
sending
about
raw audio.
for auditions or for work, for sessions that you've booked?
For both. Yeah, I'm mostly, everything that I've booked has been off Voice 123.
Mhm.
And I haven't ever had any complaints
Mhm,
from
mhm.
people, but I don't know if there's
Yeah, it might be keeping you from getting the job, and you would never know if
Right.
there was something that needed to be addressed.
Exactly.
Well, like Dan Leonard always says, like, first treat the space, first, like, get the good equipment and treat the space, and you should have to do little to no processing after. Especially for auditions, I would say, as long as your setup is good, like, don't waste your time auditioning. Like, I'm guilty myself of, like, spending too much time on auditions. For sessions, give the client what they want. So if they say raw, they really don't want you to do any processing on it. We really love Jordan Reynolds' course that he offers, and we're going to start kind of weaving it into the fabric, I think, of the dojo, so that we make sure everyone is like top level with their tech as well as
That
their
would be
technique.
awesome.
Yeah, because we want to, because now we are all our own directors and sound engineers and editors. So
Right.
yeah, he really dives in of all the things you can do. And what it really is setting things, kind of set it and forget, or setting things like little shortcuts. I basically record, I go through, I'm 50, I have mouth noise. The older you get, the more like dry your mouth gets and the more mouth noise. And I can go into a whole thing about the techniques I have to reduce it at the source. But then after you listen, and if there's mouth noise, I just have a button I click, basically, that I learned from Jordan, of like what levels, really low levels, to just finesse the things around the edges and take some of those mouth noises out. I normalize to -3 because that's what almost everyone wants. But before I do that, I normalize to 0 to see those big spikes, and then tamper them, and then I normalize to negative. That maybe doesn't mean anything to you.
No, it doesn't yet, but I'm like,
Okay.
okay, this is the kind of stuff that
Yeah, there's like
need to
3
know.
basic
Yes,
things most people can and should do for an audition or a gig. But for the most part, unless you're hearing any complaints, as long as your equipment is good and you're taking care of your mouth noise and stuff, you should be able to just send it. You shouldn't be tweaking it much at all. And if you are, it's because something's wrong pre-mic as opposed to post-mic.
Yeah, the one thing that I have heard was the reducing mouth noise. I was doing a TTS thing, and they were asking
Well, I can
about
give
that.
people some tips on mouth noise because I've been working
I'll
on
take
it for
'em.
years. So this is glycerin. This is Biotine, is the only brand I know of, but it's basically a glycerin rinse. I use their toothpaste. You can get little mouth swabs that are glycerin. That basically, mouth noise is actually usually dry mouth, even though it sounds like your mouth is all wet. So that, I'm sure, yep, other people have some other tips. My newest one that I learned from Jordan Reynolds' VO Ninja Tech class is These are just sugarless gum. He specifically recommended the sugarless xylitol gum, and it works. I chew like 2 pieces, and you can use it over and over. So I'll like chew it for a few minutes and I'll put it back and I'll chew it. So I'll use 1 piece every day. Otherwise I'd be going through like 50 pieces of gum a day. Some people, salty, crunchy potato chips can kind of pull that stuff out. Apples, especially sour green apples or apple cider, hydrate. You should do yourself the favor for your skin and your hair and your eyes and your organs. Just be really well hydrated. That should reduce them a lot of the mouth noise. Pamela, did you have some mouth noise tips? And maybe Menji, the audiobook guy, might have some too.
Actually, you mentioned the ones I would have offered anyways, but I was going to ask, I've tried the biotin spray and I find it only lasts maybe 5 minutes. Is the rinse last a lot longer? Because otherwise I'm just plowing through that spray.
It lasts long enough for me to do an audition or like a 20-minute session or whatever. Most of what I do takes like 5 to 20 minutes. So it doesn't last for hours, but it does last me 20 minutes, I think.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. But it's just glycerin, so doesn't matter if you swish it or spray it or brush it. Or,
Faith Rumor, our vocal sensei, recommends a xylitol product called X Layer as well. So
I got 3 bottles of that too on her recommendation. I also got the spicy kind. Have you tried it, Tish? One of them comes with cayenne pepper in it for like if you're congested, and it's not as hot as I thought it would be, but it's effective. Like I don't use any of the like Flonase and stuff anymore since I used that stuff. Faith.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
I am curious if anybody else has a similar struggle with mouth noise side of it, that I can be drinking a lot beforehand, but if I drink anything around the session, the mouth noises are insane.
No, I
weirdly have to like dehydrate myself, which sounds so counter to what everybody is always guiding. But I was just like, I don't know if there's any feedback on that because it doesn't sound healthy to do for the voice or the throat or whatever. But sometimes it has to be done to a certain extent just to control the mouth clicks themselves. And that was another thing when it comes to the raw audio. I know they say that they want the straight raw audio, but some people will still do basic editing, like for instance mouth clicks and maybe a basic noise reduction or something like that. Would you guys advise that as well, just especially if you're having a situation where you can't control the mouth noises? Or would you still say completely raw if they're
Oh no, I mean I would take the mouth. I mean I actually did that today. There were a couple that I was just like, and I can just click a button and it does. I feel like I'm aware that it distorts a little bit. Like when you run it over the whole file, the mouth noises are reduced, but I'm like, to me, it sounds less pretty and less perfect. Like it does something overall.
Okay.
Cough.
I use the RX stuff thing. I don't know if that's what you guys use, but yeah.
The isotope.
Yeah, exactly.
Isotope.
And Jeffrey lives in
I'm not skilled enough to know the right equalization and high-low pass, where to, set up my chain. Somebody said I just should send my file into somebody and they'll set up a chain for me type thing. But then I'm listening to Dan too. If you don't know what you're doing, don't mess with it. And it's like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. So maybe I shouldn't be getting the chain set up for me.
So I do know, because every voice is unique, so everybody's formula that's ideal for their voice is going to be a little bit different. So when I first, at least for like ACX quality audio, which, Dan has his opinions and I agree, they can be questionable at times at best. So, but for learning like where your vocal range is, something I did when I was first starting off was I'd just go look on YouTube stuff for equalization so I could learn more about what each feature does. And then try to find a YouTube video that was being put on by somebody who was a close voice match for me. Okay, so if you're going to look up any information on YouTube about how to mess with those settings, don't find one with a guy who has my voice. Find one with somebody who has your voice.
Yeah, that's valid.
Yeah, and then just little tweaking from there. Tiny adjustments or changes. Again, less is more. None is ideal. But if you have to, you have to. So
yeah.
There's the spicy stuff I was talking about, the X Clear. That's like you squirt it up your nose, but it's all connected, you know, like doing a neti. It's
Wait,
basically like
spicy up your nose.
yeah, it's cayenne pepper in xylitol salt water, I think. So it's the same as a neti with some little extra bells and whistles.
Okay.
Squirting
pepper.
it. Bell peppers and whistles.
Oh. Well, I gotta go pretty soon, but Tatiana, Lena, anything you wanna share? It's great to have you here. You're gone. Yay.
Tatiana, I don't know if you were dropping in or out or if you just came in late, but we did record this and we will send out a replay. So if you did miss anything, you'll be able to catch the whole thing.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm gonna roll, guys. But Kat, good to see you. Pamela, always a pleasure.
Yeah,
Mindy, nice
lovely
to
chatting.
meet
Thanks, guys.
you. And Jeffrey, thanks as always for keeping everything going and flowing.
When's the demo thing that you were mentioning?
April 20th. April 20th, 10 to
Okay.
12. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm gonna put that in the calendar.
Yeah. Yeah. And I forgot to get. Oh, did you put the VOO in the chat, Jeffrey, before everybody left?
I put the upcoming events thing. The demo listen derby link I think needs to be tweaked, but yeah, we'll send it out in the email and the replay as well.
Cool. All right, guys.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah. Well, you guys can hang out, but I'll see you guys later. Okay.
Yeah.
Have a good week, everyone.
Bye.
All right. Bye.